Alright, y'all. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about how Kyogre and Iron Leaves could actually be a really interesting duo in a format where they're both allowed to play together. So if you saw my last video, we talked about the synergy between Groudon and Walking Wake, which is actually going to be a very interesting duo once we have the chance to explore it. But while Kyogre and Iron Leaves I don't think is going to be inherently as strong of a duo as Groudon and Walking Wake, I think that there's a lot of really interesting things that it can do, and there's definitely ways to build a really good team comp around it. So today, kind of like the last video, I want to start off by talking about the ways that Kyogre and Iron Leaves can be really good together, and then just kind of look at 3 possible team comps for a Kyogre Iron Leaves team. So, jumping right into things, I think Kyogre and Iron Leaves, for the same reasons in a lot of ways as Groudon and Walking Wake, are going to be really good together for the ability to check what each other are bad against. So, I mean, this synergy I think is going to be a little bit more defensive than the Groudon Walking Wake synergy, because they, like with Walking Wake and Groudon, they counter each other's weaknesses really well, but and their Terra weaknesses. But with Kyogre and Iron Leaves, I mean, it's kind of just like pretty straightforwardly, because Iron Leaves is a Grass Psychic type, setting up the Drizzle for Iron Leaves is gonna be really good for it, right? So you set up the Drizzle, you make Iron Leaves not as weak to fire moves, and you also have, Kyogre there to punish Pokemon, people who try to bring out fire Pokemon, right? You also have, like, Ice Beam and Thunder for if your opponent tries to bring out a flying Pokemon to counter Iron Leaves, right? And so there's definitely some interesting ways that I think these two can support each other, but it's not like necessarily that they're going to be that crazy together. We're going to have to see, right? But like, I do think that Kyogre supports Iron Leaves really well, and when Kyogre is back in the format, it's obviously just going to be a huge threat because of how strong Water Spout is, how strong Origin Pulse is, and, obviously it has all the other tech that we saw run wild in Sword and Shield, right? So, yeah, Kyogre with, I decided to do Life Orb Iron Leaves again, and Assault Vest Kyogre. With, when you're doing Iron Leaves, you actually can get away with running a little bit more bulk, and then reinvesting in your, attack, right? Or, I mean, reinvesting, you know what I'm saying. You can max out speed without having to max out attack, and still have a little bit extra to give to HP while still getting that boost on your Quark Drive if Quark Drive is activated. This is also, taking into consideration that maybe we'll get Tapu Koko back as well, and we can run like a Choice Scarf Tapu Koko with Volt Switch, Electro Web, Dazzling Gleam, and Nature's Madness. Could be very solid, you know what I mean? I think it would be really, a really cool way to run a Iron Leaves team, because not only can we set up the electric terrain, but we have the electric terrain to benefit our Thunders, and we have Kyogre to benefit Iron Leaves. So, like, inherently, I think Tapu Koko, Kyogre, and Iron Leaves just do make a really good core. And then, it's kind of like, why not just slap on a Malsape and an Iron Jugulus? The real good thing about Iron Jugulus that I think would, you can say about this team is Iron Jugulus has really, really strong Hurricanes, right? So, if anything, you could probably say Kyogre, Iron Leaves, Koko, and Iron Jugulus are going to make an amazing core, because you get those Hurricanes, you get the Thunders, you get the less damage on fire, you get the electric terrain. And then it's just kind of like, I mean, why not throw on Malsape, my guy? Like, Malsape is going to be very strong, it always has been. And I mean, there's certainly other things that you could throw on this team that would probably be a little bit less passive at times than Mouseape, but like, again, this is just like an idea I threw together in 2 seconds, and you know, there's ways that we could certainly refine this team, but that's also why I made 3 versions of this team, just to say, like, well, if we weren't going to do this, what else could we do? Like, we could do Talontusk, which doesn't make that much sense on this team. Like, we could do, like, Farigiraf plus something, you know what I mean? There's some interesting things we could do, I guess, but I'd rather move on to looking at the next team than kind of just, like, talking about that. But, you know, the Annihilate is great because not only do they have to worry about Kyogre and Iron Leaves, right, but, like, now you have the ability to click Follow Me Water Spout. Now you have the ability to click Follow Me Tailwind with Jugulis and then send out Tapu Koko or Kyogre and do, like, speed moderation or big damage things. But, of course, you could just lead the Follow Me Bulk Up and be a huge problem that way. So I actually think Mousebolt Annihilate looks great on this team, and, you know, now that we talked about it a tiny bit more, it makes sense again, which is nice. So, going on to the second team that I made, this one is definitely, like, the least good team, just because it has Pinkerton, but at the same time, Pinkerton can do things, like, don't count my mans out. So, we've got, yeah, the Kyogre Iron Leaves again. Sorry, we forgot to talk about the set on Iron Leaves. So, Iron Leaves, I decided might be good with Leaf Blade, Psyblade, Protect, and then the last slot is very up in the air. You can do Sacred Sword, you can do Wild Charge, Mega Horn, Close Combat, Night Slash. I think Sacred Sword is definitely a really interesting choose because you do, you know, ignore stat changes and things, which can be really nice. You could run Solar Blade to go well with the Torkoal, actually, I think would be really cool. You could also run Quick Guard. I think Quick Guard would be one of your other really good support options if you're going to decide something like that. It gets Electric Terrain, Jesus, my god. I mean, I guess I knew that since I've already faced one, but... So, yeah, I mean, these Pokemon are going to be good with Pinkerton. I mean, Iron Leaves is going to be better with Pinkerton than Kyogre because Kyogre has to worry about the electric terrain, right? Hold on a second. Sorry about that. So, yeah, I mean, I think straight off the bat, like, we can say that Pinkerton, because it has Electric Surge, is gonna be, like, pretty good in this case, but obviously, it's not, like, you know, you can't just sit here and act like Pinkerton's that great. Like, it's gonna be very weak in a lot of instances, and so, like, sure, we have a Trick Room mode on this team, which on this one we would probably want to run the Trick Room in Prison instead of the Perish version, but you know, like, so you probably run, yeah, Trick Room in Prison so that you can go for the Torkoal Pinkerton mode if you really want, and if you don't want to do that, right, you can also lead some sort of combination of Kyogre Iron Leaves with Pinkerton Flutter or like Palafin in the back, or you know, whatever combination that you want to do, right? So like Palafin Kyogre, you know, is something that we also should not be really like glossing over, and Palafin Kyogre is gonna just be a nuts duo, right? So we've got Jet Punch, Wave Crash, Haze, Protect with Agua Berry because we're running Citrus Berry Pinkerton, right? So I think Citrus Berry is better on Pinkerton, and because Palafin is really bulky, like, it does have the chance to get off those Agua Berries more often, but you might just decide to run something like, I don't know, leftovers. Like, I mean, leftovers no one else is using on this team, so, like, inherently, that could be solid too, right? Going on to the last version of the team that I came up with. This is a Regieleki version of the team. So, like, imagine that all these Pokemon are back in the same format, my guy. Like, this would be such a fun team to play with if all these Pokemon were in a format together. Let's just say that. Okay. So, we've got the AV Kyogre again to be very bulky and deal big damage. We've got the Iron Leaves, same thing again. Life Orb, Wild Charge. Wild Charge is obviously boosted by the Electric Terrain as well, which is good. Helps counter other water Pokemon. But in this game, I think a lot of the times we are going to be running Choice Scarf Regieleki now, unless you have Tailwind. And I don't have Tailwind on this team, so Choice Scarf Regieleki to outspeed booster energy bundles. right. And we're still running Timid to outspeed other Choice Scarf Regielekis if they're not Timid, right? Or at least we can speed tie them. So I think Regieleki is going to be amazing on a team comp like this just because Electroweb, Water Spout, still strong. But you can do something like lead Choice Scarf Electric Terrain, switch out into Gothitelle, right? Like, you could start, like, Palafin Regieleki and click Electric Terrain, Hard Swap into Gothitelle, and then the next turn you could click Fake Out, Hard Swap into Palafin or Kyogre, right? Like, I think this team just looks really strong to me. Like, when I look at this team, I'm just like, oh man, I don't know if I'd want to face this. So what Terra type can we give this thing? Let's stick with Electric. Electric is fun. It does damage. You know what I mean? Like, we have things to deal with ground types. So, we've got the Gothitelle, like I said. We'd probably want to run, like, Water Terra Goth just to be good against opposing Torkoals like we've seen. Fluttermane, Steel, I mean, that's great, I guess. We definitely would want Perish Song on this team, so that is the right set, right? And, yeah, I mean, I don't know how much more I need to speak for this team. I want to say more because I know it, like, it benefits the people who really benefit from me doing an in-depth talk about the team, where, like, maybe they're just not as seasoned in the game that they don't exactly see inherently how this tech, like, works together synergistically. But, like, there's gonna be so much that a core like this can do, and we do have Volt Switch, so that's good. So, yeah, I mean, you can start like Palafin Regieleki, and you can click Flip Turn Volt Switch, and, you know, the Volt Switch will go first, the Flip Turn will go second, and you could do something like repositioning Gothitelle Regieleki right there, you know, on turn 1. At the end of turn 1, you could have clicked 2 damaging moves and already have Gothitelle Regieleki back out to set up Electric Terrain and Fake Out. You know what I mean? Like, it's really interesting, and of course, like, Palafin doesn't love electric moves, so, like, sure, you could maybe switch Palafin's Terra type to, like, Dragon, or you could even maybe switch Palafin's Terra type to Electric, and we could literally run our own electric type Palafin, right? Which, albeit, is really only for, like, taking away that electric damage problem and having the least amount of resistances while also still covering our resistances, right? Because, like, if your only weakness is ground and your only moves are Jet Punch and Wave Crash, like, the only Pokemon that's gonna give you a problem is like a Steel Terra Great Tusk or something after you already Terra'd. So, like, there are definitely instances where, you know, things like that will be really interesting interactions, right? But, man, I'm just really excited to try this team out. Like, and I did hear that I think maybe we are able to play the format already on Showdown. So if that's the case, I'll try to get a video together and show you guys something. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the content. I will of course have these Pokepastes available, and you know, best of luck to anyone who uses them or who faces you using them. So have a good one, y'all.